Ever look at someone and just wonder how they seem to get people? How they understand them on a totally different level? Well, today, we're diving into a pretty powerful and, yeah, kind of dark manipulation technique. It's all built around a four-layer method of observation, one that's designed to let you see what everyone else misses and truly understand what makes people tick.
Does that hit home? You know that feeling, right? You're certain you're right, you're being honest, but it feels like you're just invisible. Or even worse, people use your trust against you. If you've ever felt that, then you've come to the right place. We're about to break down the art of seeing the game so you can finally start changing the rules.
Now, let's be super clear. This isn't about cheap tricks or cheesy pickup lines. The kind of influence we're talking about is way more subtle. It's the ability to shape outcomes, to shift decisions, and to steer a conversation exactly where you want it to go, all without the other person having a clue they're being guided.
Okay, a little word of warning before we go any deeper. The knowledge we're about to unpack here, it's powerful stuff. Seriously, think of it like a journey into some pretty dark psychology. Because once you start seeing these patterns, your whole perception of how people interact might just change forever. If you're ready for that, let's get into it. Every single act of manipulation, every attempt to influence someone, it all starts with one non-negotiable first step: observation. If you don't have a rock-solid foundation of observation, any attempt you make to get a reaction or direct an outcome is just going to fall flat. It's the entire basis of the game.
So what do we actually mean by observation here? Look, it's not about staring at somebody or trying to read their body language like some textbook. It's about collecting very specific information to figure out a person's natural tendencies. How do they act when the pressure's on? How do they choose between A and B? That's the data you're really after. And here it is. This is the core framework. The whole method breaks down observation into 4 distinct layers. You start with behavior, then you move to emotional triggers, then patterns, and you finish with the power position. If you can master these, in this order, you've got the key to understanding how just about anyone thinks. So let's dive into how this all builds, starting with those first 2 layers, behavior and emotion. This is where we look at what a person actually does on the surface and, more importantly, what really makes them tick underneath it all. Layer 1 is all about behavior observation, and this is critical. You're not listening to what they say, you're watching what they do. Do they naturally take the lead in a group, or do they hang back and follow? Do they step up to make a call, or do they kind of shy away from it? These signals are what help you put them into a basic category. Are they a leader, a follower, someone who needs attention, or maybe a really careful, methodical type? Here's a perfect example. Think about the difference between an insecure leader and a real one. The insecure one is constantly trying to justify their actions, always looking for that pat on the back. A true leader, though, they're consistent, they're calm, they actually listen. Seeing this difference is huge. It tells you who has genuine influence and who's just, playing a part. So behavior tells you what kind of person you're dealing with. But layer 2, emotional triggers, that's where you find the real keys to the kingdom. This is all about identifying the specific weak points, the exact buttons you can push that will throw someone completely off their emotional balance. So what are you looking for? Watch how they react. Do they get super defensive over the slightest criticism? Boom, that's a sensitive ego. Do they get anxious or restless when they're being ignored? That probably points to a deep fear of rejection. These triggers, these are the moments where emotion completely takes over rational thought, and that is the opening for influence. Okay, so once you get a feel for their individual behaviors and triggers, you can move on to the more advanced layers. This is where we stop looking at single moments and start analyzing patterns over time. It's also where we start to map out those invisible currents of power that flow through any group of people. With layer 3, the most important thing to get is that a one-time thing means nothing. It's not enough data. You have to see how someone acts in the same kind of situation over and over again to spot their core patterns. Do they always avoid conflict? Do they always go for the safe bet? It's that repetition that turns a simple guess into a reliable prediction. Yeah, you're essentially looking for these fundamental patterns. Are they a risk taker or a safety seeker? Do they like confrontation or do they run from it? Once you can confidently identify these deep-seated tendencies, you can start predicting their future behavior with, honestly, scary accuracy. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful layer of them all: power position. This goes way beyond just looking at one person. This is about mapping the invisible structure of influence in a group. Who really calls the shots, no matter what their job title says?
In pretty much any group, you're going to find these different roles. You've got the visible leader, the one with the fancy title who's always looking for validation. Then you might have a proxy, the person who's secretly feeding information to the real boss. And then you have the real power holder. This is the person who often stays quiet, but they control the money, the information, the resources. Trying to manipulate the visible leader is a total waste of time. Understanding and influencing the real power holder is where the control actually is.
So we've covered all 4 layers of observation, but this entire system, all of it, is governed by one single overarching rule. And if you break this rule, none of the other layers matter at all. The golden rule is this: you must never let them know you are watching, ever. The second your target figures out you're studying them, their behavior will change instantly. All that natural data you were collecting, gone. And the game is over before it even had a chance to start.
The whole technique is to be invisible. Don't ask a ton of probing questions, don't show any unusual curiosity, don't react, just blend into the background and let people act how they normally would. A person is at their most truthful, their most revealing, when they believe no one is paying any real attention to them. So be there, but never, ever be noticed.
So, there you have it, the 4 layers of observation that create the foundation for this dark art. You get the what and you get the how now. The real question isn't just what you're going to do with this knowledge, it's how it's going to change the way you see every single person around you from now on.